Hi everyone, I am showing you the two lessons I decided to create today. They are lessons on literacy using Google applications. The reason I chose to create lessons around Google applications is because we actually have that resource available at my school and we use it at my school. And since I am moving grade levels, I wanted to really deepen my understanding on it and kind of get a better grasp on it so I can use it effectively and efficiently in my classroom. So the two lessons I created are surrounding literacy. One of them is a writing lesson. It's a research writing project using Google Classroom. And the next one is a goal setting lesson. It's a reading goal setting lesson using Google Forms. And I plan to use both of these lessons in my fourth grade classroom this year. For basically both Google Classroom and Google Forms, there is very little resources and technology needed. First and foremost, you need to have Google applications for education. Typically that's purchased by your school or your district. I have yet to see an individual person purchase the apps for education. You'll know that your school has it. A lot of schools are leaning towards that way. If you have a Gmail account, that's a good indicator that your school does have that available. And once that's on your computer, you have access to all the applications and you can create and display things from there. Beyond that, you're going to need a nice Wi-Fi connection. A lot of the times, multiple users are using the applications all at once. Google Applications is pretty nice. It works on many devices. It can be a desktop, a tablet, a Chromebook, cell phones. It's user-friendly for Apple and for Android. Although I suggest for the first lesson, the writing lesson, that you use something other than a tablet or a cell phone because writing could be a little bit more difficult with those types of devices. And I recommend that you have Google Chrome downloaded as your browser. It's not necessary, but Google Chrome offers a lot of extensions and different applications that you could use with your Google apps that will be very helpful. So the first lesson I'm going to kind of do a walkthrough is my research writing project. Before we look at it, some prior knowledge for the teacher is that they need to have the frame of mind that this project is really a student-centered approach. So if they do not believe in that, it's not really going to work well and effectively. A lot of students are controlling their own learning, they are working independently, and it's very collaborative. Beyond that, teachers need to have some knowledge of the Common Core state standards that they're addressing in this project. That's going to help them frame how it's going to work and what they want students to know at the end. For the technology part of it, teachers should have a basic understanding of Google Classroom. That is going to be the main platform. That's where teachers are going to post assignments. That's where they're going to share announcements and collaborate with students and give feedback. So they should have a basic understanding of how to navigate through that. And then teachers should also have an understanding of Google Docs and slides. Students are going to be using these applications, and if they come across a problem or something they don't know how to do, it would be great if a teacher knew how to troubleshoot that fast and efficiently. This other part, it's not required, but it's helpful. Like I mentioned previously, it would be nice if teachers had some prior knowledge of additional extensions or apps that they could use for Google. There's a lot of different ones that provide text-to-speech when writing, or they have ebooks that you can assign to students. It could be really helpful and really great for your project if you knew of these prior and beforehand. So for the students need to know how to navigate Google Classroom. That's where they're going to be finding all their assignments. That's where they're going to be working most of the time. So they need to know how to get around and to look for things. They should have some skills on how to use Google Slides and Google Docs. And of course, they need to have some prior knowledge on how to research and write. Believe it or not, some students come in with very little experience on the writing process and how to write. And then throwing this technology piece could add an extra challenging part to their learning if they didn't know the foundational skills of writing to begin with. So these are the procedures I have written out for this writing project. I'm going to read them to you in a little bit, but first I am going to show you a little bit of the procedures by taking you to my Google Classroom link right here. So when I take you there to the Google Classroom, you come up and it shows your class. It says I have 0 students. I have to add them still this year. So you click on, it'll take you to your main page. Your class code is what you need to give students in order for them to join your classroom, and then they'll be under the People tab so you can have their emails and everything to keep track. So to begin this project, students will have to scroll down and look at my order of how things are laid out and look at the first thing that I want them to do. The first thing I want them to do is to pick a person that they would like to research about. So I made a Google sign-up sheet. They click on it. It takes them to the sign-up sheet. There are choices, and they just have to type their name next to the one that they choose. It's great because multiple people can choose at the same time. If a name pops up next to somebody, you know that you have to make a different choice. I can also see this, and it's saved automatically. So after they pick their person, they are going to research and learn about their person. I will assign them different ebooks, and I will post different links on our classroom page. And then I provided this link afterwards. This is the one that we used in this course. It's the bubble.us. It's a great tool for students to be able to record their information, to write in a graphic organizer, to organize their thoughts and ideas before they actually begin their project. When they are done with the whole researching process, students are going to go to this little app. They have the same exact screen when they are logged in, and they are going to choose either Google Slides or Google Docs to begin their research report. Of course, they'll have a rubric and an outline of expectations so they know exactly how the report should look and what information is needed in it. Another cool thing about this process is that I can post due dates on this side. I can link it to a calendar. I can have grades posted. Students can leave comments. There's a classwork section where I can organize it a little bit better. I can use topics. I can sequence my assignments so that they're in the right order for the class to do. I'm going to go back to my procedures part. So like I mentioned, after students join the Google Classroom and they pick the person that they're going to research, they're going to use different apps. There's apps like Newsla and Books That Grow that can be assigned to students. They're going to record their information on a graphic organizer. They're going to make their report on Google Slides or Docs, and then they are going to share on Google Classroom and receive feedback from their classmates, from their teacher. They'll get a chance to revise their drafts, and then they'll present their final piece at the very end. So basically the end product is a research writing project, and it's about an historical figure of their choice. And they're learning throughout this whole process, the writing process, they're learning how to research and find information easily and accurately. Some pros and cons of using Google Classroom for writing. Some pros are that students are given choices. There's a lot of engagement. They're able to kind of have control of their learning. There's more purpose. Students can share it to any classroom, any teacher, someone beyond the classroom walls. And when you have a larger audience, it makes it a little bit more purposeful for students. Like I mentioned before, this technology reaches all learners. There's so many different apps that could help accommodate and modify throughout this process. Students collaborate, they use multiple sources, and of course they get prepared for standardized testing because we all know that they have to be able to type essays and reports and responses. Some cons, it can be time consuming for teachers to create and develop. Students can get distracted by all the features, wanting to change backgrounds and end up writing less. And it can be a challenge to monitor student productivity and accountability at all times. The next lesson I wanted to show you is my setting reading goals. And this one has a little bit less prior knowledge to get it going and started. Basically, the teacher needs to have an understanding of Google Forms. That's where they're going to create the reading goals for students, and they need to model goal setting and reflections before they're teaching and having students set goals for themselves. Students need to be able to access Google Form. Usually it's typically sent out through an email, or it can be linked on Google Classroom, or teachers can make it a QR code and students can just scan it to be led to the form. And if you want to, you don't have to. Students could create their own forms, and students would have to have some prior knowledge on how to do that as well. So these are my procedures for the goal setting on Google Forms. The teacher is going to model the expectations for reading and how to set goals, and then students will access their goal setting form on Google Forms. They'll answer the questions and set their own goals. The teacher will submit their goals, or the students will submit their goals to their teacher, and they'll be able to track their progress along the way. What's really cool about Google Forms is that you can link it to Excel, and students will be able to see whatever you want them to. If you want them to see their test scores, if you want them to see their project or their grades and track it along the way. Me personally, I want students to track their reading goal using a reading log. After a period of time, students can check on it and see if they're meeting their goal. They can reflect. They can simply just write an entry on a Google slide and keep adding to it and make it a journal. They can conference with their teacher about it. This is definitely not an end product. It's a goal setting. It's just an ongoing process. It can be for any content area. Based on what students are learning and how they're growing, their goals will always be changing. And students are going to learn how to set goals for themselves, be accountable for their own learning. And I'm going to show you what one of my forms looks like. So if I go to Google Forms, this is the reading goal I set up for students. I just wanted to show you that there's different formats. So you can have students answer multiple choice questions, or you can make short response. It's really nice that you can assign it to individual students. You can assign the form to multiple students. You can make different forms for different students. It really gives you that options. You can add pictures, videos, visuals, a lot of different ways to really have students reflect and reach every learner in your classroom. And finally, the last thing about Google is that it is a very great tool to share with anybody. So teachers can share anything that they created on Google to anyone in the building. They just have to press the blue share button and get a link. And all the work is saved automatically to the drive. You never have to worry about losing anything. You can share to someone out in the public by getting the public link. And you can also choose if you want people to just read only, or if you want them to edit what you share. I also wanted to show you really quickly that when you are done, I can send it to somebody using email, using a link, or using embedded code. From a student view, when you share, it'll be a blue button that says share, and you can choose who you'd like to share it to. So you could also add collaborators. You can get a link. I just pulled up a previous document of a graphic organizer, and you click the share button, and once that is clicked, you can choose. Right now it's at anyone at my school can view, but you can also change it. You can send links to people. You can get the shareable link, and you can change it to more people than just your school.